zigzag Regera. 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. We intercept, then grab the cargo.
It'll be part of a convoy.
What are you thinking?
Quick hit and run. Get me close to the truck and I'll take care of the rest.
Hey everyone, so unfortunately I actually couldn't record any footage of me playing Need for Speed Payback. I asked the developer and they said no, unfortunately we aren't allowing people to record. But it's the same demo that you guys are seeing right now on screen. I basically just got to play the full demo, and this was at the Microsoft Xbox area show floor on E3. Now, what did I think about Need for Speed Payback? Because the Need for Speed series has gone through some rough patches, let's just say. I mean, really the last Need for Speed game that I really thoroughly enjoyed was the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit reboot that they did in 2012, 2011, around there. And I thought that game was phenomenal. It was basically everything I wanted in a current modern Need for Speed game. And unfortunately, ever since then, I just felt like the series has gone kind of downhill. You know, the Most Wanted reboot was not as good as the original games, and they tried to actually reboot the entire franchise last year with this sort of conversion between using actual gameplay with the Frostbite engine and actual FMV videos. And it just didn't turn out that well. You had this kind of story going on in the background, which wasn't that interesting. You had these characters weren't really that interesting, and it was also brought down by the fact that it was an always online game, which it really didn't even utilize the always online component, because you could play solo but you still had to be connected to the internet. It just made no sense. But Need for Speed Payback is looking to sort of get the series back on track, and from what I played, it's providing a pretty good layout for what I would want in a next generation Need for Speed title. That being said, this game is a lot more story focused. In fact, they're trying to really tackle the Fast and Furious roots. So we actually have characters in here. Whether or not these are characters who are going to be developed over the course of the game is a mystery, or whether they're just going to be thrown here with personalities and just be flat written characters, we don't know. But that being said, they're at least trying to include a story in here, which for a lot of people, I mean, no one's playing Need for Speed for the story, so it's going to be pretty much forgotten from the get-go, but it's appreciated that it's in here. On top of that, we're continuing using the Frostbite engine. The gameplay has been tweaked to allow for more arcadey feel. I feel like the Need for Speed reboot last year had a nice balance for the handling of cars. I didn't find the cars too heavy or too lightweight. I felt that it did a good job at, you know, the feel of the cars. Each type of car felt different. You could really see where your modifications felt. So they're sort of translating that into here. I mean, the cars typically have weight attached to them, but you can still do all the cool drifts and spins that, you know, you're accustomed to doing in a Need for Speed franchise. Now, that being said, visually this game looked phenomenal. It is still running on the Frostbite engine, and the environments look great. The lighting looks fantastic. The detail on the cars is really well. And then you also have these great destruction and particle effects, you know, that the Frostbite games have always done so well, with the Battlefield titles starting around there with that. And it's just a great showcase visually. I mean, you're looking at the game, and you have these great cinematic camera angles that pan back whenever you sort of crash an enemy vehicle into an object. And it's a cool showcase. And the gameplay stays intense and fast enough to the point where you kind of do feel like you're in the action. Now, the best thing about playing this demo, and you guys aren't seeing it right now because the video I had downloaded was only available in this format, but I walked away impressed because, not because of the gameplay or because of the visuals, or just how the game's cinematic, you know, look it was going for. I didn't walk away impressed with that. I walked away impressed with the fact that this game was running at 60 frames per second. And it's funny because I played it and I'm like, oh my god, it's 60 frames. Like, I wasn't expecting this, because we're all accustomed to Need for Speed being a 30 frames per second, you know, game. That type of series has always been about 30 frames per second. We've never really got some 60 frames per second Need for Speeds, or there were very few and far in between. And now we actually have one. And I actually went to the developer after I finished my demo. I said, great demo, great game. I'm really looking forward to it, but I have to ask you one question. Is it 60 frames per second on the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, or is that like, you know, for all platforms? And he looked at me and he said, well, first of all, this demo is running on a high-end PC with specs similar close to Xbox One X. And I was like, oh my god, of course. Because like you could have fooled me. Like, you literally had an Xbox One X standing right in front of you, and of course, under the display was a PC with specs similar to that. And I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like, oh my god, of course. False advertising. I mean, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of going to the Xbox booth and 90% of the games I play are on PCs and not representative of the actual Xbox One X system. I mean, I don't care if they're similarly spec'd to the Xbox One X console. It's not running on the Xbox One X console. So therefore, it's not indicative of what the experience is like. It's just a test. It's like a tech demo. So I kind of shook my head. I was like, okay. But he came back to me after and he said, listen, the 60 frames per second is a target at the moment that we're shooting for all platforms, including base PS4 and base Xbox One. And I thought to myself, okay, that's nice that it's a target, but it's very unlikely. Like, I'm just trying to figure out that it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to hit 60 frames per second on the base PS4 and the base Xbox One. I mean, especially running at 1080p, you're just not. It's very unlikely that you're going to hit it at that resolution. You know, there's not enough horsepower there. On the PS4 Pro, and indeed the Xbox One X, they could definitely hit 60 frames. And if not at 4K, then, you know, at 1080p, absolutely. Those consoles are powerful enough to handle that game. And the Frostbite engine is well optimized to the point where they could render that game at 1080p 60 frames per second. And so I'm hoping that when the game comes out, we'll actually see two modes. We'll see like a 4K 30 mode and then like a 1080p 60 frames per second mode. And I think that 60 frames mode is what's really going to get people to really sort of get this high octane feeling from playing a great Need for Speed title again, because, you know, 60 frames per second in a racing game, those things, I mean, at least to my standard, should be they should be synonymous with each other. I mean, 60 frames with the expert, you know, well-crafted responsive controls, that high frame rate maxed with that high speed. I mean, there's some great 30 frames per second racing games. Like I said, I loved Hot Pursuit Reboot back from like 2010, 2011. I thought that was a great game. I love the Forza Horizon series, which is also at 30 frames per second. So, I mean, I love these games at 30 frames. I'm just hoping that this game turns out to be 60 frames because it'll have a one-up on that system and it'll work out very well. So that's it. I gotta say, yeah, I walked away very impressed by what I played. It was a small demo, but I thought the cars handled really well. I liked the action style, Fast and Furious copycat style that they're going for with this game. I think it looks good. And I'm looking forward to when the game comes out. I'm definitely going to give it a shot. And hopefully we do get a 60 frames per second mode on the higher end consoles. I think that's really going to be nice, especially to play that game, because I played the demo and it was slick. I mean, it was really smooth, and most of that was due to the fact that the frame rate was double what the other Need for Speeds were typically running at. So, all right, that's my impressions of Need for Speed Payback. Looking forward to the game, and hopefully we get that 60 frames mode. All right, let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions regarding the game, be sure to hit me a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, have a good one.